Have you ever wondered why some men stay emotionally tethered even when you feel like you've done everything right or wrong? It's a question that echoes in the quiet corners of our minds, a lingering puzzle after a coffee date that fizzled, or a long-distance connection that, against all odds, deepened. We're often taught to believe that connection is a simple equation. Be a certain way, do certain things, and the right person will appear and stay. But what if the true key to lasting engagement isn't about grand gestures or flawless performance, but about an invisible pattern, a pattern that, once you understand it, makes everything about attraction, intimacy, and loyalty click into place? This isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's a deeper, more profound truth about how we are wired to connect. What if I told you that the emotional tether that keeps a man engaged is less about what you do and more about the subconscious dance you're both participating in? This ultimate pattern is a blend of neuroscience, attachment history, and ancestral blueprints, a web of threads so intricate they often go unnoticed. At Love Threads, we don't just talk about relationships, we deconstruct them. We blend authentic, grounded insights with robust, evidence-based psychology, giving you the real intelligence on why we connect, why we sometimes misstep, and how to truly thrive when love feels like a constantly shifting landscape. Tonight, as we conclude our Love Loop series, we're unraveling the ultimate pattern that keeps him connected and exploring how to navigate it consciously for lasting, fulfilling relationships. The pattern involves a subtle yet powerful balance between emotional intensity, autonomy, and resonance with deep psychological and archetypal scripts. It's the difference between building a relationship with effort and allowing one to unfold with ease. This powerful pattern taps into a man's unconscious desire to feel both connected and free, a paradoxical need that, when met, creates a bond stronger than any forced connection could ever achieve. The key is to stop trying to perform and start simply being. The dilemma. We are so often caught in the conscious effort of love. We craft the perfect text, analyze every word, and try to be the person we think someone else wants us to be. We are meticulously building a conscious connection, brick by emotional brick. But what happens when the foundation of that connection isn't laid in the daylight, but in the shadows of the subconscious? We see this in the story of so many women like Laura, who have noticed a perplexing and often painful paradox. Some men she meets fade quickly, their interest a fleeting spark, despite her best efforts to fan the flame. She is the perfect date, the supportive listener, the enthusiastic partner, yet the connection simply doesn't hold. Then there are others who, despite distance, challenges, or even her own perceived flaws, remain consistently, almost magnetically engaged. They seem to find their way back, to stay connected, to want more, and she can't quite understand why. The common denominator, she realizes, is not her actions, but something far more subtle and deeply ingrained. This ultimate pattern isn't a strategy or a checklist. It is a blend of emotional intensity, subtle cues, the honoring of personal autonomy, and most importantly, a resonance with deep, unconscious relational scripts. It is a testament to the fact that connection is not just a choice. It is a profound and often unconscious alignment. It is the echo of one soul recognizing a familiar frequency in another. This dance is less about grand performative gestures and more about a quiet, powerful alignment of psychological and archetypal patterns. Picture it as a web of glowing threads intertwining between two figures. These threads are not just the words you say or the dates you go on. They represent conscious and unconscious pathways of connection. They pulse with the energy of your attachment history, your nervous system's capacity for safety, and the unseen loyalties you both carry from your ancestral past. In this space, the silent conversation is often louder than the spoken one. The question isn't, what can I do to make him stay? But rather, what is the invisible, energetic conversation we are having that determines whether he stays or goes? This is the heart of the dilemma, the profound chasm between our conscious intentions and our unconscious realities. This subtle, powerful pattern is the invisible emotional tether. When you understand how it works, you stop trying to control the outcome and start focusing on the quality of your own presence. The ultimate connection isn't built through endless effort, but through a grounded, authentic state of being that a man's subconscious feels safe with and is drawn to. It's about being the anchor, not the sailor endlessly rowing. It's about creating an atmosphere where his own desire to connect can flourish, not one where he feels pressured to perform. By honoring your own autonomy and expressing your authentic self without overcompensating, you create a dynamic that is both magnetic and sustainable.
Anecdotal threads, the seeker and the anchor. Let's dive deeper into Laura's experience and peel back the layers of her story. In her conscious mind, she believed effort was the key. She had read the books, listened to the podcasts, and internalized the idea that if she just tried hard enough, if she was loving enough, if she was supportive enough, a man would stay. In her first relationship, she poured all her emotional and mental energy into a man she found charming and promising. She was her biggest cheerleader, anticipating his needs before he even articulated them. She made herself constantly available, her schedule bending to fit his, her life revolving around his priorities. She was an integral, almost foundational part of his existence. She made sure to remember the small details he mentioned in passing, to plan thoughtful surprises for his birthday, and to be the unwavering rock he could lean on whenever he faced a setback. Her love was a full-time job, and she dedicated herself to it with a profound sense of duty. But the more she gave, the more he seemed to subtly, almost imperceptibly withdraw. It was like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. She would pour in more love, more attention, more care, only to find the connection leaking away, leaving her feeling hollow and confused. The threads of their connection, once seemingly strong, began to fray, and eventually snapped with a quiet, devastating finality. He faded, leaving her feeling hollow and confused, as if her entire self-worth had been invested and lost. This relationship was defined by a conscious push that met an unconscious pull away, a relentless effort that clashed with a deep, unspoken need for distance. It was an exhausting, fruitless tug-of-war where the victory was never in sight, and the only result was emotional depletion. Then there was another. With this man, the connection was different from the very beginning. They met and it was easy. She wasn't trying. She was simply herself, focused on her own life, her own passions, and her own world. The threads of connection that formed were organic, not forced. The conversation flowed naturally. Their time together felt like a bonus rather than an obligation. And their separate lives felt like two strong, independent rivers flowing parallel before occasionally merging. Even when physical distance separated them for months at a time, their connection didn't just survive, it thrived. The emotional tether remained taut, strong, and vibrant. She wasn't her constant cheerleader. She was her equal, a partner who had her own thoughts, opinions, and ambitions. She wasn't always available. She was her own person with her own life. And he was drawn to that self-possession. And yet, this man stayed. He was consistently engaged, always finding a way to bridge the distance, to stay in touch, and to deepen their intimacy. The difference between these two experiences was not her effort, but the subtle, powerful, and unconscious pattern they were both a part of. This is where we must look beyond our individual stories and into the collective unconscious, into the wisdom of the great mythologies and psychological frameworks. Some connections are reinforced by archetypal resonance. He described how we are unconsciously drawn to those who mirror an aspect of ourselves, those who fulfill an archetypal role we need to engage with for our own growth. In Laura's first relationship, she was likely embodying the caretaker archetype, a deeply ingrained pattern of nurturing and self-sacrifice. She gave and gave, but this archetype's shadow can often be martyrdom and a hidden expectation of reciprocity. She was not showing up as a whole person, but as a role she had learned was synonymous with love. This may have clashed with her partner's unconscious wanderer archetype, a man drawn to freedom, independence, and the open road, who felt suffocated by her intense gravitational pull. Their archetypal scripts were fundamentally incompatible, and the connection was destined to fall apart. In her second relationship, however, something shifted. Laura, in her ease and independence, was embodying the sovereign or creator archetype, a person who rules their own life and brings their own vision into the world. She had her own kingdom, her own purpose, and was not seeking a king to save her. This resonance was powerful and magnetic. Her second partner, in turn, may have been embodying a more mature king or explorer archetype, drawn not to a dependent figure to be cared for, but to an equal partner with whom he could build a shared life and explore the world. This archetypal alignment created a deeper, more enduring magnetism that transcended simple attraction. The connection persisted because it was a partnership of equals, not a caregiver-child dynamic. We carry invisible loyalties and unresolved family patterns that can unconsciously dictate our relational choices. This is the wisdom of family constellations. Perhaps in Laura's first relationship, her intense overgiving was an unconscious loyalty to a matriarch in her family, a grandmother or mother who believed that love was earned through self-sacrifice and endless service. Laura was unconsciously repeating a familial pattern, fulfilling a silent agreement to sacrifice her own needs for the sake of another, and the connection was ultimately a painful but necessary lesson in breaking that loyalty. She was not just loving her partner, she was trying to heal a multi-generational wound through him, an impossible task. In her second relationship, the new partner may have also been unconsciously navigating his own family system. Perhaps he came from a long line of men who were emotionally unavailable or who had a history of infidelity. His connection with Laura, a woman who was authentically present but not overgiving, who was secure in her own world, offered him a new, healthier script. The connection persisted not just because they were a good fit, but because it was a healing of a past family wound for him, a chance to create a new, more secure relational pattern. The emotional tether was strong because it represented a path of healing and liberation for both of them, a break from the past. Some relationships are a part of our soul's curriculum, a sacred agreement to meet and learn from each other. In this view, the first relationship, for all its pain, was a contract of martyrdom for Laura, a difficult lesson to learn about her own overgiving and to reclaim her self-worth. The second was an agreement of a different kind, a contract for mutual growth, respect, and deep, lasting connection. It was the reward for having learned the lesson of the first. The universe, in its wisdom, brought her a partner who resonated with her new, whole self. And there is one behavioral and emotional pattern that predicts connection more reliably than any grand romantic gesture, but most people completely overlook it. It's not a trick or a secret phrase. It's not about being hard to get or playing games. It's the delicate and often unspoken balance between emotional consistency and a profound respect for each other's personal autonomy. When we are fully present and authentic, yet not over-invested or trying to control the outcome, we create a space where the other person's nervous system can feel safe enough to truly attach. This is the ultimate pattern, the one that tells the other person's subconscious, you are safe here, but you are also free. It is the powerful and deeply counterintuitive truth that often the key to keeping someone connected is to allow them the space to connect to themselves first. It is in this spacious and authentic connection that true, lasting love is born. the invisible threads, psychological deep dive, the science of the tether. This deep, invisible pattern isn't magic. It's a beautiful and complex interplay of our deepest psychological and biological drives. It is rooted in our attachment patterns, our neurochemistry, and the echoes of our family systems. To truly grasp the ultimate pattern, we must venture beyond the surface of behavior and into the subterranean world of what makes us human. Attachment patterns and predictable behaviors. Our journey to understanding this pattern must begin with attachment theory. The way we learn to bond with our primary caregivers in childhood shapes our adult relationships in profound ways. When a child's needs are met consistently and lovingly, they develop a secure attachment, a belief that they are worthy of love and that others are reliable. This allows them to form healthy, interdependent relationships as adults, where they can be vulnerable and independent in equal measure. They have a well-regulated nervous system, which means they can handle conflict and emotional intensity without becoming overwhelmed or shutting down. But what about the rest of us? Many of us developed insecure attachment styles because our early experiences of love were inconsistent or absent. A person with an anxious attachment style, for example, often seeks closeness and reassurance with a hypervigilance to any sign of distance or rejection. This person's nervous system is primed for threat, constantly scanning their partner's every word and action for evidence that they are pulling away. This hypervigilance can manifest as a flurry of texts, a constant need for reassurance, or a tendency to create drama to get a reaction. In contrast, a person with an avoidant attachment style values independence to an extreme degree and may feel overwhelmed by too much intimacy, creating distance when a relationship gets too close. Their nervous system is wired to see closeness as a threat to their autonomy, causing them to withdraw emotionally, build walls, and prioritize solitude over connection. This creates the classic pursuer-withdrawer dynamic. The anxious partner, in their fear of abandonment, moves closer, and the avoidant partner, in their fear of engulfment, pulls away. This negative feedback loop creates a dance of pain and misunderstanding that eventually burns out the connection. It's a dysregulated system where each person's core wound triggers the others, escalating the conflict and making true intimacy impossible. A key insight from attachment research is the concept of co-regulation. In a secure relationship, partners help each other regulate their emotions. When one is distressed, the other can be a calm presence, helping their nervous system settle. In an insecure relationship, this is impossible. The anxious partner's panic dysregulates the avoidant partner, who then withdraws, further dysregulating the anxious partner. The cycle continues and the invisible tether snaps. The ultimate pattern that keeps a person engaged is the one that doesn't trigger these core attachment wounds. When Lara was overgiving to the first man, she may have unconsciously triggered his avoidant attachment. Her intense emotional needs and desire for fusion were perceived as a threat to his independence, causing his nervous system to sound the alarm and pull him away. With the second man, the space she created, the unwavering focus on her own life, combined with a warm, authentic presence, allowed their relationship to feel safe. It nurtured his capacity for connection without overwhelming his need for autonomy. The consistency wasn't in her actions, but in her authentic presence, a presence that said, "I am here, but I don't need you to be anything other than who you are." This created a space for him to securely attach, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. We get caught in negative cycles of pursuit and withdrawal. The ultimate pattern breaks this cycle by not engaging in it. It's about being present and clear in your own needs and emotions without chasing or pressuring the other person to meet them. It is in this space of grounded authenticity that a partner can feel safe enough to move toward you, rather than feeling the primal need to run. It's also important to understand that attachment styles are not a life sentence. With conscious awareness, many people can develop an earned secure attachment, where they learn to regulate their own emotions, communicate their needs effectively, and choose partners who are capable of providing the safety they seek. This is the transformative power of understanding the pattern. It is the conscious choice to heal our own wounds so we can stop reenacting them in our relationships.
Neuroscience and desire. The brain is the ultimate architect of this emotional tether. The ultimate pattern isn't just about initial attraction. It's about creating a feedback loop that reinforces the attachment system, ensuring the connection matures from a fleeting spark into an enduring flame. Dopamine, the feel-good neurochemical, is crucial here. It's a reward chemical that drives motivation, anticipation, and craving. When we engage in a behavior that feels good, seeing someone we like, getting a text from them, anticipating a date, our brain releases a hit of dopamine, reinforcing the desire to repeat that behavior. This is where the trap of intermittent reinforcement comes in. In many modern dating scenarios, this dopamine loop is triggered by unpredictability. The on-again, off-again relationship, the hot and cold partner, the unanswered text, all of these create a state of high-stakes gambling. The brain becomes addicted to the possibility of a reward, no matter how small or inconsistent. This is the trap Lara fell into in her first relationship, where the inconsistent attention kept her anxiously pursuing him for a reward he rarely gave, turning the relationship into an addictive game. The ultimate pattern, in contrast, creates a steady, reliable source of dopamine through consistent positive experiences. The feeling of being seen, understood, and appreciated in a consistent way creates a feedback loop of sustainable, joyful connection, not anxious craving. It's the difference between a sugar rush and a nourishing meal that provides lasting energy. Oxytocin and vasopressin, often called the cuddle hormones, are the biological bedrock of long-term attachment. They are released during intimacy, physical touch, eye contact, and moments of emotional connection, acting as the brain's glue that solidifies the pair bond. The ultimate pattern fosters environments where these hormones are released naturally and frequently. It's in the quiet, non-performative moments, the shared laughter, the comfortable silence, the empathetic listening, that these chemicals flood the system, creating a profound sense of safety and belonging. It is also triggered by non-sexual touch, like holding hands or a gentle touch on the arm, and by shared experiences that create a sense of teamwork and mutual support. In her second relationship, Lara was able to create this safe space because she wasn't anxiously trying to force it. Her authentic presence invited a genuine connection, allowing the biological magic of attachment to unfold on its own terms. The ultimate pattern is, in many ways, an unconscious strategy for optimizing our brain's capacity for secure long-term bonding. Family systems and archetypal dynamics. We cannot talk about persistence in connection without considering the unseen forces that bind us. Loyalty to our family system can unconsciously influence our choices. These are not conscious decisions. They are silent, energetic loyalties we carry in our subconscious. A key concept here is the orders of love, which posits that there is a natural hierarchy and balance within a family system. When this order is disrupted, for example, if a child is forced to act as a parent to their own parent, it creates an imbalance that can manifest as relational issues later in life. A man who witnessed his father's infidelity might unconsciously choose partners who are unfaithful to him as if to complete the family pattern, believing that this is what love looks like. A woman from a family where emotions were suppressed might find herself drawn to emotionally unavailable partners simply because that dynamic feels like home. The ultimate pattern that keeps a man connected may be one that, for the first time, breaks an old painful family pattern. With Lara's second partner, perhaps he was unconsciously loyal to a family pattern of emotionally unavailable women. And in his connection with her, a woman who was authentically present but not overgiving, he found a new, healthier script to follow. The connection persisted because it was a healing of a past family wound, a rewriting of his own ancestral story. He wasn't just attracted to her, he was being led towards a new, more integrated version of himself. This is the profound healing power of the ultimate pattern. It gives us permission to stop repeating the past and to forge a new path for our future. This is also where the archetypal resonance becomes so potent. Archetypes are universal symbols and images that reside in the collective unconscious. The anima and animus, the hero, the king, the mystic, the lover, the shadow. They represent the full spectrum of the human experience. When we meet someone, we often project our anima, a man's unconscious feminine, or animus, a woman's unconscious masculine, onto them. A magnetic connection can occur when a partner embodies our anima or animus in a healthy
An integrated way. However, a destructive connection can happen when we project a wounded or shadow version of that archetype, trying to force our partner into a role they were never meant to play. The shadow contains the parts of ourselves we have repressed or denied, our deepest fears, wounds, and negative traits. We often project this onto a partner, creating a volatile yet strangely magnetic connection. The ultimate pattern isn't a formula. It's an invitation to show up as your authentic self, to stand in your own power, and to trust that those who are meant to stay will resonate with the true archetypal you. Lara, in her second relationship, was no longer projecting the wounded caretaker archetype onto her partner, expecting him to fill an internal void. Instead, she was embodying the sovereign, a woman who had dominion over her own life. This shift invited her partner to connect not with a needy projection, but with a whole person. This is the dance of two souls recognizing each other's deepest story, not just as a fleeting romance, but as a path toward wholeness and individuation. This is the ultimate pattern, a profound and often invisible alignment that, when understood, can transform the very nature of our connections. It is the art of being so fully yourself that you invite another to be fully themselves as well.
Rewriting the narrative, the conscious art of the tether. Understanding the ultimate pattern is not about manipulation. It is about empowerment. It is about moving from an unconscious dance to a conscious partnership. It's about learning to cultivate connection without sacrificing your own integrity and autonomy. The ultimate pattern is not a new set of rules to follow, but a profound shift in consciousness. A realization that the most powerful thing you can bring to any relationship is the whole, authentic, and grounded version of yourself. Here's how you can begin to rewrite your narrative and harness this pattern consciously. 1. Emotional consistency and authenticity. The core of this pattern is authenticity. It is the courage to be who you are, without apology or performance. In the past, you may have asked, "What does he want me to be?" in a desperate attempt to be loved. Now the question changes to, "Who am I, and what am I bringing to this relationship?" This is the fundamental shift from seeking external validation to cultivating internal security. Being authentic and emotionally consistent doesn't mean you are always happy or never upset. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It means your emotional responses are genuine and predictable, not in a boring, robotic way, but in a way that allows your partner to feel emotionally safe. A predictable response is one that is an honest reflection of your feelings, expressed calmly and without drama. For example, if you are upset, you can say, "I'm feeling hurt by that comment," rather than launching into a tirade or giving the silent treatment. This kind of consistency is a grounding force. You are not a roller coaster of emotions that your partner has to guess or brace themselves for. This is a subtle but powerful signal to their nervous system that they can relax and attach. Authenticity requires vulnerability, the willingness to be seen for who you truly are, imperfections and all. When you can share your fears and insecurities not as a bid for them to save you, but as a genuine act of intimacy, you are building a bridge of true connection. This is the difference between being needy and being vulnerable. Neediness says, "I need you to fix this for me," while vulnerability says, "This is what I'm feeling, and I trust you enough to share it with you." To be able to do this, you must first do the inner work of self-awareness. You must know your own emotional landscape so well that you can articulate your feelings clearly without expecting another person to be responsible for them. This practice is the foundation of the ultimate pattern. 2. Balance vulnerability and autonomy. The ultimate pattern is a delicate and masterful balance of two seemingly opposing forces, emotional openness and personal independence. True connection flourishes when you can be vulnerable and open your heart, but also maintain a strong sense of self and a life that is full and meaningful outside of the relationship. Having a strong sense of self-differentiation. It is the ability to maintain your own sense of self while in close proximity to others. A highly differentiated person can remain connected to their partner without losing their identity, and they can be intimate without becoming enmeshed. You are not a half that needs a whole. You are a whole person who chooses to share your life with another whole person. The moment you begin to lose yourself in a relationship, abandoning your hobbies, your friendships, your career aspirations, you lose the very essence of what made the other person connect with you in the first place. You become a shadow of the person they were drawn to. The tether of connection needs slack. It cannot be a tight, constricting rope. You must first belong to yourself before you can truly belong with another. By honoring your autonomy, you are not creating distance. You are creating a safe space for two whole, separate people to come together in a relationship that is based on mutual respect and admiration, not codependency. Your life, your passions, and your sense of purpose are not distractions from the relationship. They are the fuel that keeps the relationship vibrant and alive. The relationship should be a beautiful addition to your life, not the sole source of it. 3. Mindful observation and pattern recognition. The most transformative part of this journey is becoming a mindful observer of your own relational patterns and those of your partner. Instead of obsessing over what to do or say, simply notice. What is the natural rhythm of your connection? How does he respond when you are present and clear? How does he respond when you are busy and focused on your own life? Pay attention to the subtle cues, the way he leans in, the way he listens, the way he initiates. The ultimate pattern is not something you create. It is something you observe and align with. If you notice that your authentic presence creates more connection than your overgiving, then trust that insight. You don't need to force a connection that is not a natural fit. You need to observe the one that already is. This requires a deep sense of self-trust and a willingness to let go of the need to control the outcome. It is a practice of letting go of the script you thought you were supposed to follow and allowing a new, more authentic story to emerge. You are no longer trying to force your own story onto another person. You are co-creating a new narrative that honors both your authentic selves. Let's look at two mini stories to illustrate this. There's the woman named Clara, who after years of chasing and overgiving, felt completely depleted. Her relationships were a series of exhausting sprints that ended with her feeling abandoned. After a particularly painful breakup, she decided to stop trying to get a man and started focusing on her own career and passions. She didn't do it to get a man. She did it for herself, to reclaim her own sense of purpose and worth. In doing so, she naturally became more present, more passionate, and more self-possessed. A new man entered her life, and he was immediately drawn to her energy, her authenticity, and her independence. The connection that formed was one of mutual respect and admiration, not dependency. She had unconsciously applied the ultimate pattern, and the result was a relationship that felt easy and organic, rather than strained and performative. Then there's the woman named Jessica, who was in a long-term relationship that had become stagnant. She found herself constantly feeling like she was chasing her partner's affection and attention. After watching her own patterns, she consciously chose to stop chasing. She began to express her own needs clearly and kindly. "I feel a bit disconnected from you lately. Can we set aside some time to talk?" And she re-engaged in her own hobbies and friendships, filling her life with joy that wasn't dependent on him. She was present when they were together, but didn't wait for him to make her feel whole. The space she created allowed her partner to re-engage on his own terms. He was no longer a target to be chased. He was a partner to be cherished. This shift in her energy, this balance of authenticity and autonomy, revitalized their connection and created a new, healthier pattern. The ultimate pattern is not a trick. It's a natural alignment of emotional, psychological, and archetypal resonance. When understood and applied consciously, it allows you to cultivate lasting connection without sacrificing your autonomy or self-worth. You are not here to earn love, you are here to be love. So, as we conclude, I invite you to reflect on your own relationships. How you noticed patterns that keep certain people connected to you. What kind of energy do you bring to your relationships? Share your insights below. Your story may help someone else understand the invisible dynamics of love. Now that you've explored all the love loops, stay tuned for our next series where we decode the subtle signals that predict long-term relationship success, even before he says, "I love you." Thank you for joining us. If this stirred something in you, subscribe to Love Threads. We're not here to fix you. We're here to remember who you are. This final message serves as both a conclusion and a new beginning. We've laid the groundwork for a more conscious approach to love, one that is rooted in self-awareness and integrity. The journey to a fulfilling relationship isn't a destination, it's a continuous process of growth, healing, and courageous self-expression.